Kevin James is starring in a Netflix movie, an Adam Sandler movie, and it's based on Sean Payton's one-year sabbatical from the NFL. He was suspended, goes back to his hometown to coach his son's Pop Warner team. Kevin James plays the role of Sean Payton. The Sean Payton, the Saints head coach, joins us on the program. Did you have any say in who was going to portray you, Coach?
I didn't. I appreciate the pitch, but this was this was done kind of with Adam Sandler's group, and my daughter had done a little "Where Are They Now" piece for NFL Network a couple of years ago, and it was about that sixth grade team and 7 or 8 players and the story of that season. And I think it was condensed into maybe a 5-minute hit on network. And Adam saw it and asked his brother-in-law, my daughter's boyfriend, Chris, he said, write that movie. And that was kind of a big deal for Chris. And, Adam doesn't say that all the time. And long story short, here we are. I'm sure Adam and Kevin and the rest of them from Happy Madison, kind of looked at it and made their adjustments. So I've kind of been just a bystander from afar, and I'm sure it'll be more of the humorous tone. And I think certain movies repeat themselves like that. Whether it's the Bad News Bears or the Mighty Giants or the Ducks, or you know what I mean, the storyline. Yeah.
But do you have script?
And yet we still like them.
Do you have script approval?
Oh yeah, I read through it, the whole thing. Yes, and basically, there's some parts in there that are they're definitely funny and part of the movie. And more importantly to me was my ex-wife Beth's thoughts, and my son and my daughter, all the people around me. When you get to where you're 57, you're not as worried about what other people think. But I wanted to make sure that my children and Beth felt good about it.
It's kind of interesting though when you have it based on your life. But I'm wondering, in real life, what did you learn about yourself when you got suspended that year?
Well, I would say there were two things. You the first month, you're livid, you're angry. You I'm going to call it a sham, and try to be kind. But you go through that like you can't believe the way it unfolded and what was being said or portrayed by the league office. And then secondly, you're like, man, this is going to be a long year if you continue to wake up feeling like this. In other words, and so then you go through, maybe there's 3 stages that, the next stage is you begin to, all right, what are we going to do here? And I had recovered from an injury that happened actually in Tampa Bay on the sideline. And so I began working out quite a bit, ran a half marathon, training like daily, and then coaching this team I was an assistant. I wasn't the head coach. I was the offensive coordinator of this 6th grade team that had not really had any success. And here's the thing though, this sounds crazy, but it's still the same. You're teaching. There's a dynamic that you want to communicate a subject matter, and you got to figure out what wins, and then you got to figure out how to do that to win, and then you start winning, and then the players believe, and then you win some more, and then they have confidence, and it's the same with the 6th grade team as it is with an NFL team.
Did you show them your resume? I mean, you didn't get the head coaching job. You only an OC, so pretty tough.
I didn't want to deal with the parents, number one. We were back in Texas.
Would you rather deal
I'm
with...
not going to deal with any parents.
Would you rather deal with the media or parents?
The media. The media. I've gone, honestly, and the parents were great, but I've gone to a number of high school games because my son played high school football, and I'm amazed and in awe or in shock of the behavior or cluelessness that I observe in the bleachers. It's just, and I don't know if it's the parents trying to live vicariously through their children, or not maybe understanding, or really failing to realize the bigger picture, which is just the growth of their child's education. And I'm not talking about just sports. It could be the band for a gal. It could be arts. It's just part of like growing up. And look, there's a few that I understand that they can go on maybe and play in college, and then maybe I don't discount any of that, but just some of the behavior or attitudes that you observe or you just cringe. But no, I would choose the media every day over the parents, and so that was part of the deal. I didn't have to visit with the parents about why Johnny or Billy wasn't playing or anything like that.
Saints head coach Sean Payton at the Eagles on Sunday, Thanksgiving, hosting the Bills, and then you host the Cowboys. You're coming off back-to-back losses. How long does it take to put a loss to the side and move on?
I would say, generally speaking, there's that 24-hour, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a day and a half or so, depending. This one this past weekend, I don't know that I'll ever get over it. In other words, just the way the game unfolded, how we wanted to play it, and then to have some of the things take place that took place. It's tough. It's tough because you dive into a week with your total preparation, and I think, I think we just in a lot of ways we've seen it happen each weekend with the officiating, and that's the hardest thing to get past is when they're not up to speed maybe or it happened to the Bears a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've watched yourself on the sidelines, the reaction in that game, but if they were thought bubbles, I'd love to know what you were thinking.
I think, though, look, I can recall a little bit of it, and I think in back at 10 years ago, I'd have been. I think I may have been thinking that, but I think a little bit calmer. And just, I hate getting to the point where it's expected, where like you're numb. But those kind of things can happen. They just, and I look at that more from an overall leadership perspective and training perspective. And like that, those problems start at the top, not at the individual crews.
Yeah. Yeah,
somehow we got to reduce the variables.
But can you talk to the league about that? Do they let you have a voice?
Yeah. Look, I was part of the competition committee for a while, and so it's something that I know other head coaches and general managers. I know most in this profession. Believe in certain things and to help that change. And I know there's a number of people in our positions that believe these guys should be full-time. That they should be coming back Monday in centralized locations. How are 17 crews ever going to be on the same page when there's a conference call or a Zoom call, and then that. But that's for another day right now.
But, Coach, the stakes are too high, with what's going on with gambling. This is big business. We know that. The NFL can afford full-time officials.
Listen, I would agree with you.
Don't you want to say to the betting public, we're taking this seriously.
We have to improve.
Yes.
We have to. And look, everyone watching and participating and involved in it deserves better.
How close did you come to getting OBJ?
I thought, look, we had good conversations. He's from here. I thought only he could answer that, but I thought I felt real positive. You're in the middle of game week, so you're preparing for another game. And look, if he's truly interested in coming, here's our pitch. Here's what we think. And then at that point, he can sort through that. And we had several conversations. I would say close. The question would be, all along, if LA had an opportunity, I knew that's where he was going to go. And I don't think Los Angeles really was an option until maybe middle of the process. I would say fairly close, but I think only he would be able to answer that.
I wonder if Drew Brees was still your quarterback. Would you have would you have landed him?
I think L.A. I'm meaning that sometimes
it didn't matter?
it's just an area.
Okay.
I think it. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that you could have him come back home and he can be the featured wide receiver. Like, I don't know is this like your recruiting pitch, as if you were a college coach when you're trying to get somebody?
Well, I think in a very small, just in a very small, quick 2-day process. I think this ultimately, and I can, in recruiting, for instance, there are certain bullet point things that you need. Who are the decision makers? What's most important? And I think LA was important more than I think Los Angeles was important for him. And I think that I get it.
Where do you stand on the taunting rule?
I think it's being over officiated. I sat in on the discussions. I don't think any of us that discussed it saw it where it is now.
Who was asking for it, Coach? Because I didn't know that it was, this real dilemma. Like, this is a big problem in the NFL with taunting.
Yeah, look, I think but in fairness to that question, it's like anything else. The line's got to be eventually bright. When you start having players stand over players, crawl over players with their crotch, that there's got to be. Like, hey, if you and I watch a game and we say, just sit next to each other and turn to each other and we say taunting, that's probably a taunting foul. You with me?
Yeah.
And we would see it and think, that's too much. Like, you can't do that. But I think then therein lies the challenge of communication as to, hey, I'm going to show you 50 clips and you tell me which ones you think should be called taunting. And it's no different than roughing the passer. So what's the first word? And it's roughing. And so if I turn to you and we watched a game, I think we'd be able to say that's probably roughing.
But I don't like the word roughing the passer, because if I graze your helmet, I didn't rough you. And why can't that be a 5-yard penalty?
No, I like the word roughing.
Why?
All right. And I don't want to call anything if I graze anyone in football.
Oh, okay. But they do.
All right, let's go all the way back to this is Chutes and Ladders. We're back at the very beginning of the discussion.
I don't want you to get fined, Coach.
No, I won't.
How much have you been? Well, you lost a whole salary. But except for that, how many times have you been fined by the league office? By the way,
I think once.
Why didn't I never understood that? And I know it's not my money, but I would have been livid. Like, you're going to take a salary away from me the whole season? Like, I'm mad on your behalf. You're over it, maybe.
That was not ever. That was the first 2 months that we talked about before.
Man,
it was the anger, and it was done. It was done. It was a way to try to circumvent really what the rules at that time were, and it's $500,000 at that time for a league employee. But
that's a lot of money. How about we talk about your team? How's your team doing, Coach, going into this game again?
I've never been able to come on the Dan Patrick Show, and for a brief moment via telephone, feel like I made him like awkward or uncomfortable, and I just felt like I did that. So team's doing good. We're banged up a little bit. We go to Philly. We do have this unique not Thursday night game, but it's unusual. We play Thursday night Thanksgiving, and then we flip around and play again home Thursday versus the Cowboys. So we're going to see the Eagles, and we're going to see the Bills, and we're going to see the Cowboys. And I don't know, that's like 3 games in however many days. But so I think part of it being the head coach is just being smart relative to how much time we're on our feet and how to manage the practice schedule, those type of things.
What do you do against Tom Brady that other coaches don't do? Why are you successful against Brady?
I think number one, I think we have a good defense. But you know what I mean. I think, and if you have a good defense, then I think that's part of it. It's a hard-fought game. Unfortunately, we weren't in the playoff game, and I think there are a lot of things that go into winning. And if you're playing him and you're turning the ball over at midfield, you're going to pay. If you're playing him and you're not capitalizing, almost like there's not going to be these errors that sometimes you get when you're playing another player at that position. And certainly, a player that our league's never seen at that position. So your margin for error has to be sharp, and I think you have to have a good defense. I think that, look, if you go back and remember the Tampa game in New England, and it was the return and the rebirth, and holy cow! All right, it was unbelievable the media attention to that game, and man, New England's got a good defense, and that game was, I think, down to the final score with a rookie quarterback, and so. I do think it starts with, obviously a good defensive plan and understanding maybe some of the basic principles of how to win and not how to lose.
I still think back when I think of drafts, and you told us that, hey, we were trading up. We were going to get Mahomes, and then you ended up taking Lattimore, who's obviously a very good player, but just that. What is that? Well, we didn't know at the time, so I don't know if you were like crushed, where you're like, we got Mahomes, and then you don't have Mahomes. And what's that feeling like when you don't get him?
At the time, realistically, you have a small bubble there. We're picking 11. And so this is, I think, what happens in a lot of draft rooms. You have to have at least as many players in the bubble as there are picks, or you don't have a pick. Like you have to like. And I knew it was Lattimore and Mahomes in this cloud, and there were 3 picks left before it was our pick. So you're getting to a spot where when there's 2 picks left and you have 2 and you're getting one of your guys. And so Lattimore, we didn't think was going to be available. And here was the question in a nutshell. It was help your team now with the corner while you have Drew, or help your team long term with the quarterback. And we were once pick 9 was made, we knew we had one of the two choices. And I don't know if pick 10 was someone else, what we would have done at 11. We were discussing, back and forth about the QB in the corner. And then, so at the time when something like that happens, there are times where you're just like, you had one guy, someone stepped up, took your guy, and you're dejected, or, I've seen that happen. But I think the feeling was when the Chiefs went to 10, I knew right away it was going to be for Patrick. And then we knew we were getting Lattimore.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a room of like dejection, or it was kind of high fives. Like, man, we had no idea. We thought this corner would slip, and he ended up being the rookie of the year. But it's funny how those things can happen, and after working him out in college, we crept out of town. We got on the owner's plane. We didn't let anyone see us. It was a private workout. It was that good. I'm talking about Patrick.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you just, these draft day things. I remember the Cowboys, I thought they were going to take Johnny Manziel, and I'm like, oh my God, because Jerry's going to get involved in this.
I remember.
Oh.
Yep. I remember.
Oh, man.
Right? Well, here's the thing. The funny thing about all of that, what was the year Draft Day came out?
Oh, the Costner
movie.
Paulie Googled it.
I'm going to tell you that movie came out.
2014.
All right. What was the Manziel draft?
2012? Has it been that long?
2012.
Oh, no,
point
it's
I'm
same year.
making is-
No, it's same year, Coach, 2014.
Same year. That's what I thought. So, in the movie, I think the Browns go with the scout, the Costner graded player, as opposed to, and in real life,
they passed on Bo Wallace. They passed on Bo Wallace, and they took Mack, the linebacker.
Right, and you recall they tested Bo Wallace.
Yeah.
They had all these little things. If you turn to page 48 and you see this, send it back to us. And they knew he didn't look at the playbook, and they worried about his leadership. Blah blah blah. And then in real life,
was Manziel Bo Wallace?
now listen, I remember a little bit. I wasn't a part of the Manziel draft. What was Manziel's year? It was his 12th season.
Yes.
I remember I was coming back from suspension, and look, I followed his season. It was magnificent. I spent time with Johnny, actually discussed and spent some time about bringing him in here for, this was years ago when the Super Bowl was in Houston. And so I think, look, we root for guys. Like, we root for, all right, what's the best thing he can do, and let's do those things with him, and let's see him have success. We root for players. We don't root against. And so,
yeah.
But I just thought there was some irony. The movie, the Cleveland Browns. It was right at the same time.
Hey, it's great to talk to you as always. We appreciate when you join us, and I hope there's no sequel to this movie because that means you get suspended again. So, wait, you're not laughing.
Yeah, I hope there's no sequel as well. That's safe to say.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, Dan. I appreciate your friendship. See you.
Sean Payton, Saints head coach.